And before we jump into this podcast episode, I do want to let you know that on November 18th, which is a Friday, I am opening up enrollments into my online marketing course, SEO for Detailers. So SEO is search engine optimization. That's when you rank your website on the first page of Google in your area for targeted keywords. So let's say you're in Austin, you'd want to rank for keywords like Austin auto detailing, Austin car detailing, Austin paint correction. The reason is there are hundreds, and depending on where you live, thousands of searches per month in your area where people are searching for a detailer. SEO is the main reason that we passed over $10,000 per month in our business as well. So if you're interested in learning more, you can click the link down below if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can check the show notes to get on the waiting list to be notified when it opens up. Let's get into the episode. In this podcast episode, we talk about the 5 mistakes you should avoid in your business. This is the Detailing Business Class Podcast. Okay, and welcome back to another podcast episode. We have here Cesar from Symphony Advertising. He was on the episode, I think maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. So on this one, we're going to talk about the 5 marketing mistakes you should avoid in your local business. And I say local business just because this is going to be applicable whether you're a detailer, HVAC, plumbing, landscaping, a barber, salon, whatever. Like these things are applicable across any local business. Realistically, any type of business, but we're going to keep it in the local business sphere just because Cesar works with local service-based businesses as well. And I talk with a lot of detailers, so we're going to keep it within that ballpark. So
good intersection.
Yes. So first things first is, I would say, let's say if you have an agency, Cesar, right? You work with websites, Google Ads, a little bit of Facebook and such.
Yes.
Just off the cuff, right? Before we get into our 5 points here, do you think that business owners know enough about business to run their business? Or when you talk to them, are you like, man, you're kind of missing a lot of things? Like, so they come to you saying, hey, like, I want this done so we can grow. But when you look at them, you're like, man, like, yes, that, but also like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Like the way you talk to me, you don't know this. Like,
yeah.
Let's just kind of start off that, like what you kind of see in your atmosphere or your sphere of business.
It's a broad spectrum. You got your single sole proprietor businesses. You have your medium. When I say medium, it's like small medium, right? Like 10 to 20 people. And then you still have small, but they have, 100 people or whatever. So it's kind of, there's different varieties there. And it's kind of depending on who I'm talking to, right? So like the best person I think you can talk to as a marketing agency is the business owner. When you talk to the business owner, you know that they care. Like they're like, okay, at the very least, even if I'm way off, you know that they want results. That's one way. Other times we get set up with like the front desk receptionist who she or he has time while everybody's busy, let's say at a doctor's office or a law office. This happens a lot. They're not busy, or they're not as busy as everyone else. So they're tasked with, hey, find a marketing agency, make sure they can run our ads, and make sure it delivers. And that already becomes hard because number one, they do not care as much as the business owner, because they work their 8 hours and they want to go home, right? Like they don't want to lose their job, but they're not trying to turn a profit. They're not trying to increase sales from 10% to 20. And then the communication, right? So I talk to them, they talk to their bosses. It gets lost in the clutter. And then I would say those are the 2 common scenarios. So regardless, if they're coming to us, usually it's they don't know enough yet. Usually they don't know enough yet because...
Is that if you're talking to the business owner or if you're talking to someone that's not
either,
the business? Oh, okay,
either.
Okay.
But the further you get away from the business owner, or even like the marketing manager, so I work with some marketing managers, but it's kind of the same case as a front desk person.
Where like they don't really know?
Dude, it's crazy.
Is it because like when you hire them, or when they get hired, the business owner, whoever hires them, doesn't also know what to look for? Yeah. So it just downstreams to them?
You actually, that's why it's actually super important that the person in charge, like actually in charge, understands it enough.
Marketing.
Mm-hmm. Or, whatever division it is, I'm sure it matters. Like if it's product, they got to understand the product.
Yeah.
But in the marketing sense, it's like, okay, you're putting all your trust on this person you hired, and it's hard to say, like, does that person know?
Yeah. And it's funny because it's kind of the blind leading the blind because he might actually trust that person, but because the owner doesn't know what to look out for and he's just hiring someone because he looks good, and then that doesn't person doesn't really know what they're doing. It's like he has genuine trust in that person, but like they both don't know what they're really doing. So it's like it's just you kind of go.
It's almost
it's like blind leading the blind.
it's
Like
all yeah. It's I mean, they have good intention, but like I get into these conversations and I'm like, you've been running this campaign for how long with how much money and like why?
yeah, because you've had some pretty crazy stories of wasted ad spend basically, right? I say wasted because 10 minutes looking at the account, you're like, this is all wrong.
Yeah, like you can easily see like, okay, let's do last year, let's filter by most clicked, and it'll be something like if it was for auto detailing, it'd be hand car wash. Like imagine that's the number one keyword that spent 80% of your budget. It's like, well, we don't actually really do hand car washes like that, like what that term means.
Yeah.
That's not what we really, even if we got it, we'd make like $50 off of it or whatever. And that's the kind of things I see, and I'm like, oh, this is way off. Which honestly is good for us because then we come in with like super value.
Yeah.
But as the business person, like they just spent the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, who knows how long, kind of, missing the point,
not getting anything out of the results. Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. We'll go into the 5 points now, but that's a general, like that's pretty on point across the board with everyone, right? Not just detailers, but HVAC, plumbing. Like that's typically where you are, like where that business owner or that marketing specialist, like that's the kind of people you talk to.
And just to not make it so the world is always burning, like there are the people that you talk to and they understand it. Like they know, like, look, I know this is going to take time. I know this is going to be, we've tried this with other businesses. They did okay. We want to do better. Like there are companies, people, front desk people, marketing managers, owners that like, they understand it. Yeah. And it's great working with them because if you're on the same wavelength, like if they let you go, let us go. It's like, okay, we understood that our goal was to hit 20 conversions a month. We weren't able to hit it, but we both understood like this is where it was at versus like, hey, I have $500. I want to make $1 million. Yeah, it's okay, well, that's just impossible, sir,
for sure,
or ma'am. So yeah, that just to round that out.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Okay, so we'll go into the 5 points here. And by the way, if you are just getting and starting your detailing business, if you want to download the ultimate guide to start your detailing business, there's over 10,000 words in that guide to get started. So just before we go into these 5 points, the guide has a lot more detail about how to get started, what to do. So just check the description box down below or check the show notes to download that guide. So going into the first point here is relying on, here's the first mistake you should avoid. Relying on one thing to turn everything around. So although, yes, like let's say, for instance, me, when I started ranking my website on the first page of Google back in 2015, the leads started skyrocketing, right? Phone calls started coming in, emails started coming in, schedules started getting booked out. I started making a lot more money. Things got lined up. But that being said, though, it wasn't just that one thing. It wasn't just saying my website got ranked on the first page of Google, which led to everything, right? So it's never just one thing. It's a collective effort of what you do in your business, right? From experience to customer service to operations to fulfillment, whatever. Like it's everything that grows your business. So for my example, of my 2 cents real quick, is that going back to the SEO thing, where like with me, I like when people like when they get out on my course for the SEO for detailers course, and they might tell me like, hey, I'm already ranking for some keywords. I'm already on the first page. And one thing that if you don't have if you don't have good, great reviews on your Google business profile listing, but you're ranked on the first page, you still might not get a lot of clicks or calls or traffic or leads or anything because you don't have any reviews, right? So that's just one little example of like, you could still be on the first page where all the traffic is at, but if your listing isn't getting reviews, if your website isn't optimized as far as like for customer experience, like your website, like you're still not going to get anything.
I was going to mention like we can send all the traffic in the world. Let's say you have a big budget and you want to send traffic to your website for a service, and it's like, well, your website's like really bad. Like it's poorly done. Half the information's missing. It doesn't load properly. Like, it's not gonna be as good as if you had a fully optimized, not even optimized. Like it just has to be a good site that makes sense. Like a person has a problem, they come to your site and they find the solution. That's all it really has to do. But to your point, like you can rank page 1 for the best keyword if your site it just doesn't load. It doesn't make any sense. Or I see this a lot. They have the right information. Where do you call?
Yeah.
Where do you submit the form?
Yeah.
You physically have to, text them, or sometimes they'll put the phone number, but like sometimes you don't want to call them. Maybe you want to submit a form. So I see that a lot too. It's like, yeah, but there's things you can do to improve it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like even with they as simple but as super impactful and effective as like, it is, like having call to actions, like click this button right here to call, or click this button right here to send up to email, and like having the best web page ranked on the first page. But it's like if they're like, where do I contact this business? Then it's like that's a big part. And what like an example I always like to talk about, which is on from the book The Goal.
I like it.
Yeah, it's the how the problem just moves down the pipeline. You know, like if you fix one thing, just another problem. You solve one thing, another problem arises somewhere else. So like, if in the instance of like getting your website ranked on the first page of Google, it's like, okay, your first problem is like, okay, I want to get it ranked. Okay, so you get it ranked for 3 keywords, and you're like, okay, good, like I'm on there, but it's like, hey, I'm still not getting as many calls. It's like, okay, like look at your listing, go get reviews. Okay, I'm gonna go get reviews now, and then you get reviews, you get more traffic, and like, hey, I'm still not getting conversions. It's like, well, look at your webpage now, and it's like, it's always just the next thing you have to solve, right? Like you'll never not, and that's why it's like. It's a collective effort. It's never just this one thing that's, hey, like once I do this, like everything gets solved. Now there are priorities for sure. Like if you're getting 0 traffic, 0 leads, 0 nothing, it's like get traffic first. Like like you'll see what you have to fix once something starts happening.
That's important, yeah. Because what are you gonna do? You're gonna over optimize your sales call process when no one's calling.
Yeah, and that's a big point of like people want, like when I see some comments or threads on Facebook or whatever on the internet of like, hey, how do I get more customers? And they're like, make sure your sales process is down right. It's like, bro, how many calls do you get per week? They're like, 4 calls. It's like, bro, it doesn't matter what you do your sales process. Like, you don't have enough volume of phone calls coming in and like, yes, always like optimize everything, but like, you got to first get, it's like and I need to think about this more often, but have you heard of the Maslow hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
Which is basically
Shelter,
like you can't pass to the second phase unless you pass the first phase.
Yeah.
Well, I'll quickly break it down. There's a Maslow hierarchy of needs, whereas there's like it's a pyramid of like 5 phases, and if you can't proceed to the next phase without fulfilling the first phase. So the first phase is like your basic needs, like water, shelter, whatever, and then from there it goes to the next phase of like maybe having a car, whatever, and then from there, and at the very top is like love and fulfillment, because at the end, like if you're homeless with no money, it's like you don't care about anything. You just want a place to live and food and like you just want water. And, yeah. So it's kind of like that with like with business though, of like before you think about optimizing the sales process or better customers, it's like the first phase before you keep on moving forward, it's like you probably need traffic first.
Yeah.
And again, it depends in what in which way you're talking about this, because like if we're talking about the actual service itself, like fulfilling the services, like detailing, it's like you should first start with like the most basic interior services, and then from there go to so we're strictly talking about marketing and generating leads. So in that regard, it's like get traffic first, and you can even take it a step before that and be like, who's your customer? Like what is the value that you're actually So like there's a lot of steps that we're skipping, but like if you want to see something's like, bro, like you got to get volume to like
and I think that's the point. Like it is massive. Like you can look at one thing and then fix that one thing, but there's 800 other things you can always look at.
And again, going back to the main thing is like, it's never just one thing. It's never one thing. There's 20 different things that could be a priority to really understand, like to really like get the business moving and growing.
And I think it's almost like, it's kind of like I don't know how to put this. It's kind of like a water flow of sorts. Like you want the flow of leads higher. It doesn't ever turn off. Like you don't once you fix it, it doesn't go away. Like it's just it's gonna, like imagine you do hit the holy grail of SEO and ads, and you get 100 calls a week. Like that's a bigger problem than not getting the 100 calls a week. That's just gonna be like, holy crap! Like how do we solve for this?
Yeah, and going back, it's always just another problem. Yeah, like it's always just like if you go from whatever to 100 leads per week, like that's a whole different set of problems that you now just have to solve. So good point there. Okay, so number 2 is trying it out, whatever marketing you're doing, SEO, ads, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, what have you, is I'm gonna try it out for a week, and if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna move on. Do you have anything to say just off the top before I get into my details?
Yeah, so there's actually a strategy in the world for, I've seen this amongst lawyers or law firms, is like they'll use a company for 3 months and then switch. Because their belief is that they want the agencies to fight each other. Like they want either like us, not us, but like A company paid this much, B company will underbid them, C company will promise this, D company will try this method, and they'll just cycle through and they'll think like over the course of the year, some of them will work, some of them won't. But we're not gonna really stick to one because they don't trust them long enough. So like that's just a bad, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like that,
bad
like
practice. Yeah,
like imagine you did hit it with C and then you left it alone. Like you would have never. It's never gonna cap out.
yeah,
because you removed it before.
yeah. And the way I like to think about it, which I've heard this example plenty of times, especially from the Mahal's blog of like think about like a flywheel or something, where like or like a Ferris wheel, whatever you want to do, but like the first spin of the channel of the whatever marketing is like it's the hardest, the slowest. Like you're putting all the effort just to get one rotation out of that. The second rotation, you're putting just as much energy, and then by the third, fourth, it's like, oh, it's moving a bit faster now.
Yeah.
And by the 10th, 12th, it's like, okay, it's catching speed, and by the 20th rep, you're like,
yeah,
right. So, having anything short term, you'll never get that flywheel to move. It's just you're not giving it enough time to build up. And there's a fine line though, because you could definitely know if you are, and this is actually on the next point, but like if you are hiring an agency freelancer and you know what you're doing, in 3 months you can kind of know if you know what you're doing.
yeah. Good point.
These people don't know what they're doing. Like,
Right.
But again, that's like you already gonna have to know what to do and what you're doing and why, like what the goals are and everything to like make that clear decision that they don't know what they're doing. But then at the same time, it's like you also, if you've done your due diligence and looked into them and you have trust in them, it's like it's also letting the process play out. And in the beginning, if they are saying like, hey, like you have to give us at least a 2 month runway to get any type of results, because the first 2 months are like, assuming we're running ads here,
Right.
the first 2 months are like, hey, we're just like testing and seeing what works.
Data
Like
collection.
there's no way we're gonna like so yeah, and I'm sure you see that a lot too, right? About the whole like you just said, like with your clients, are they like, hey, I want to try that for like a month. Do you think something will work?
Yeah, those are bad. Those are bad. Those typically it's too, and the problem too is like it'll actually work sometimes the first month, and then the second and third month it's down. For what reason? I can't really pinpoint. Is it seasonal? Did it get competitive? Did our competitors outbid us? I mean, we can tell to some degree, but it's not like I can tell you like that ad account in Tomball, Texas raised their budget, and then then you get outplayed sometimes. Like, okay, well they have more money than we do, or whatever, or they have more service trucks available. Like we have one, they have eight.
Yeah.
Like how are we, you can't.
Yeah.
But to the point is like no matter what it is, like give it time, even if it's slower. Like I feel like sometimes people come in on my side, the advertising side, and they're like, we want to go all the way, super hard. We want to spend $2,000 a month, and we want results, but we need them now. I'd rather be like, look, let's spend $500 a month, spread that across 8 months, and let's just take it slow. Because like you can't. It's just a better overall idea. Because I mean, you can't really work like that. Like when you're all like, I need more. I need
Yeah,
more.
and
Like you have to like calm down and like look and like evaluate. And imagine like on my side, it's like I can't think. All I'm thinking is like, how do I get this guy more leads? How do I
yeah,
get this guy more leads?
and that's also another point where like if you have this strict deadline or this strict results, like, hey, bro, we need something like this month. We're gonna spend $2,500 a month, right? And it's like it's more like although like it's good to get results now, but like you're thinking very short term of okay, like these guys want to turn around results right now. So like instead of doing steps 1 to 3, I'll do steps 1, 3, and hopefully that gets me to the goal. Like and which it's just good because it's getting results, but it's like I need this like you don't get to play out your whole strategy of what you really want to see like for it to last long term.
Yeah, I had a client. What is it, like a not a repair shop, like a customization shop for cars.
Oh, custom shop, yeah.
Custom shop. They're like, hey, we want to go hardcore. Whatever your rates are, we'll double it, and we just want to like we want fast. I was like, we could try it. I mean, sometimes you get these deals. You're like, oh well, if you want to go for it, we could try it. I don't think it's gonna work. And so we accelerated. We did everything fast. I mean, it kind of worked. They got phone calls, but they got phone calls for the wrong stuff because they didn't think it through. They didn't think like, hey, Cesar, we're actually getting a lot of calls for window tinting, but that's not really what we want to focus on. Like, yeah, we offer it, but we don't want it. So they actually got more of stuff that they didn't want.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they quit after a month. Well, a month and a half.
And with something like that, it's like because they don't have a clear, like they just said, more leads now, more business now.
We sent the lead.
They weren't very clear on like, hey,
Exactly.
we want this specific type of work, you know. And it's like you can like, and that's why like as an agency, like you can only do as good as the work as they give you, you know. Like as they say, hey, these are the type of leads that we want. These are our best customers, and like sometimes they don't reply. And it's like, you know, you're talking to the receptionist, like that's your point of contact at the company. It's like
we can only work with the information we're given. Sometimes it works out, but other times it's like you wanted more calls as fast as possible. They give me like, these are the 6 services we offer. So we did okay. And I remember clearly, I was like, look, it's better to focus on the main thing that you want. And they wanted like truck restore, stuff like that, like big stuff. And they actually told me if we had 1 truck restore a month, we will be good. And it's like, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Like that seems reasonable. But then on the other hand, they were just like, we need more. And it's like, we're giving you more, but then you don't even want it. They're like, yeah, we're just confused. So I'm like,
yeah.
Everyone's wasting time. We're wasting time. We're wasting money. And it ends in a month, dude. Like, what kind of relationship is that? Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, and that goes to the same thing. Like, they have the aggressive mindset of like, let's spend more, let's do it, let's go fast. But then it's like they don't know what they want. They're not clear on the vision, and then that still goes back to like, okay, we tried it for a month, now just cut it out. It's not working. It's like
we're gonna go a different direction.
And it goes back to our first one of like, not one thing changes everything. You know, it's like they should have had everything in place of like what's their most ideal client that they're gonna get, or what's the job and what's the whole process. But it's like if we'll move on to our next point actually, which is the next one. Well, actually, I'll talk a bit more because it goes great to our next point of like handing off to an agency. But I'll say one more point of. And then this is obviously for any business, but detailers as well. Of like with me, like with SEO specifically, right? It's like it's a little scary saying, and it really depends on where you are with your business. Because if like, if you went in debt a little bit to buy whatever tools, products, equipment, van, whatever, if you're, maybe you quit your job, which you shouldn't have, but you did because you were so committed to it, and you're kind of like, okay, I need something to happen now. It's like with SEO, like, and it's a little scary to think like, oh, like patience, yes, but like I don't have patience because like I'm on a run rate of like 2 months before like I have to go look for a job. It's like there's no like perfect answer to it because like even with Google ads, Facebook ads, like things are gonna take time. Granted, SEO will take much longer than ads, but like it's like one side is like trust the process and like play it out and do your best, and then the other side is like, well, are you doing everything that you can to actually get the results, right? And it's like it just is like very fine line that you have to like draw because, like with most people that go for SEO, I always tell like, bro, like the first 3 months I wouldn't even think one bit about seeing any results. Like if you ask me anything about like what it's only been 3 months. Like at a minimum, wait and not just wait them, but like work all that you can within those 3 months. But like don't expect not one single traffic or like visitor to your website within 3 months. And it's like it can be scary because like if you're paying for SEO and you're paying $1,000 a month, it's like you're paying $3,000 in 3 months with no results whatsoever. But it's like that's why it's important to know if you trust a person. Like you yourself have to know what the process is to know. Like, okay, I understand the first 3 months, 4 months there might not be no traffic or no results whatsoever. And it's not until like 4, 5, 6 months that you're like, oh, okay, now I see it. What's happening?
Somebody told me that too. Like last week, I think it was. They're like, "Hey, Cesar. So yeah, we use this other company and they didn't do a great job. So we just want to know how you can guarantee SEO results for us." I was like, "I can't. I can't guarantee SEO results for you because we can do our best practices, like Google's best practices. We can do all of the best practices.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work because it's too competitive or because it's too competitive or it's taking longer than we think, like I can't give you an exact answer."
Yeah, and the way I like to think about it, it's like if there's like a boxer, right, and they want a new coach, and it's like, hey man, can I hire you to for sure win me that championship? It's like, bro, no, bro, we can work together to make the best strategy to really work out, but you're the one in the ring fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even with them, bro, like, what's his plan? Like you don't know. Like, so it's like you can only guarantee or like it's just about like the collective effort. Like, yeah, if we work together and you give me the information that I need, I give you what I need or what I need from you, it's like we can best have we can have our best teamwork to put our best foot forward.
So I'll usually end it with like, my response to that is like, we'll vastly improve your chances of ranking well. We'll vastly improve your chances of getting you leads because we're going to do the right things. But I mean, the world is the world. It's a competitive place.
Yeah.
There are other companies who want the exact same customers that you want. And what do you think they're doing? They're doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not like,
Yeah, and not only that, but then there's other times like I'll keep it SEOs of like, hey man, like I've been doing this for like 4 months, and there's other crappy like low quality site that's on the first page for multiple keywords. Like, what's going on? It's like, bro, I don't know, dude. Like they just that's whether they just got lucky, whatever. Like they did something that you don't see that's why they're ranking. But it's like you can only focus, you can only put your best foot forward every single day.
Yeah,
you can only keep on doing like that's it. That's the only thing that you can control. Okay, sounds good. We'll go to the third point here, which is handing off the work to an agency. So mistake number 3 is handing off the work to an agency and freelancer. So on this one, an agency or freelancer, I mean like one person, right? That's typically a freelancer, which agency is more, there's a kind of a team behind it, or it's more of a structured system that they run, I'd say. They can tremendously ramp up the marketing efforts, the lead, what have you. But they can't fix your business, right? And those are two different things. Like, hey, we have a lead generation problem, or we want to improve on our lead generation problem. And this, hey, our business is failing. We have terrible reviews. Can you run ads for us, right? Those are, like that's not working out. So they can get you they can generate leads, but they can't improve your customer service, your experience, your fulfillment, your operations, your staff, the way they answer things. Do you have anything to add from that? That's a mistake. Let me keep on going actually, because I have a few more points that will wrap it around too. I was talking. So if the business is failing and it's on its last leg, you can't just throw money to an agency and expect them to be like, "Oh yeah, I can fix that for you." And a lot of times, I feel like, and this actually goes to our next point, is that like the owner has to take ownership.
Yeah.
Of the marketing, right? And it's like, of course, like to any lawyer, to any dentist, to any detailer, to any plumber, to any electrician, like they didn't get into business to learn about this field of marketing or business development or sales or customer service, customer experience. Like they're there to be the electrician, to be the plumber, to be the dentist, to be the lawyer.
Which is actually wrong, because then they're just a lawyer. They could have just gotten like if they're the business owner, like they're removed from just being the lawyer.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of also incorrect from to get. Like the electrician has to know more if it's a if he's the owner of the electrical company, like he's no longer just an electrical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's you have to, like it is business owner, entrepreneur first, and then like marketer, salesperson, and then you're a whatever that trade is. And that's kind of going back to all the other points that we had of like when they're not that just makes it for a very hard. That just makes it for a very hard time to like focus in on their business, because they themselves don't know what they want. And it's like, and like to that point, it's like if they don't know, right? Like if they're more focused on being a technician, whatever that, or a trade, whatever that is, and then they hire or they look for a freelancer, like they have no clue what the next step is. Like they're like, it's so hard to work with them, right? Hard to work with them, and then if they're trying to do it themselves, they are absolutely lost on what to do. And it goes back to all the other points of like they're gonna try something for a week.
I had a landscaper call me. I think they did all right. And he's like, hey, how much to run Google ads and get my website done and all that, and give him pricing, whatever. He's like, hey, these prices are too they're not what I'm looking for. Do you happen to know like, somebody in school or somebody in college, that can build me the site and do Google ads, and I'll just pay them hourly? I was like, what the heck? Like, A, no, and B, like you like that is like,
yeah.
That's definitely like they have a different idea about what.
Yeah. And that's not with those like.
Oh, I'm out.
Yeah, you can't win with them.
No. So, but the point I'm making is like, it also depends like what's in that business owner said, because I don't know how long they probably do all right, but when they get into because it's different, right? Like getting, especially someone who's been in business for 10, 15 years, like what they were doing back then is not the same stuff they were doing now. Like they'd be switching from, I was doing billboard and radio, TV, to I want to do social media now, and like then it's like they really don't know.
Yeah, so to that point, it's like I would never recommend a detailer, but business owner, to just hand off the work to someone if and again, like unless you have the resources, like if they've been in business for a while and they're they have cash flow, they have the resources, and they're like, yeah, we can spend about like $2,500 a month between if they're running ads, they can pay for the service fee plus running $1,500 a month in ads. Like okay, to that degree, it makes a little bit of sense, right? But you still need that person that knows what they're doing, like to know, like, hey, I can talk with, like, whether it's the owner or someone they appoint to, and it could be easy as like getting your receptionist to be like, hey, like just watch YouTube videos on like what
Yeah.
what SEO, what Facebook ads are, and then when we talk with this company, like we have some sense of like what's going on here, but like to just hand off
Yeah,
the work to someone and it's like
blindly.
yeah, it can't function like
You
that.
you gotta know how to dance, because that's why it kind of sucks sometimes, because like people come to us and they're like, hey, we've been burned 8 times before, and you're like, oh, what? That was nothing to me. Like,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
been
yeah.
you've been with a girlfriend or boyfriend before, you've been burned before too, but you know, you don't look at everybody else like, damn, I have something to say about that. But but yeah, if you don't fully understand, not fully understand, but if you don't understand enough to just play the game, you'll get taken not advantage of, but like you won't know the questions to ask. You know, you won't know how to interpret things. So that's really something you should have. You know, like understanding, like, okay, this marketing person is talking to me about this. I understand it, and you can have good feedback. Otherwise, you're just lost. You're like, you're just going into, and I've done this. When I worked at the agency, the bigger agency prior to my thing, I would have meetings to like 12 times a week with just people that like didn't know. Just
I just lost.
they were like, we would just go through the motions, because they were and it was like, you know, employee with another employee. And we were just like, hey, how's it going? Good. Here are the numbers. Okay, is that good? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
bye.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
reality, that's not. I mean, it works to an extent, but like that's not the real conversation you want to
Yeah,
have.
and not only that, but then it's like down the road, the owner's like, "Hey man, so why aren't we whatever?" And then it's like, "Well, they said," and then it goes back to like the middleman, or like the steps it takes from the owner
Yeah.
to the, and again, like that's directly applicable to any small business that perhaps isn't gonna hire an agency, but like everyone does this problem. Like everyone has a problem. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I guess I could do this. Oh, I guess I could do that. Oh, I don't know. It's like you can't just hand off the work to anyone thinking, yeah, just here, right? Like here, it's like no, like it's a lot more than that. Okay, so now moving on to point number 4 is expecting better results faster, aka not having patience. Now we've touched on this literally all throughout, which is I would say one of the more like top of the list of like what's everyone's problem is like you didn't wait long enough. So everyone wants to start marketing and instantly see their traffic, leads, whatever go right up the roof. But regardless of whatever marketing that you're doing, whether it's SEO, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, is that things are gonna take time. And even if you do, let's say if you're working a full time job and you're able to put 4 hours a week in your marketing, and then you quit your full time job and now you're able to put 14 hours per week in your marketing, or you're spending whatever $200 a week, a month in ads, and you up it up to $2,000 a month in ads. Like even with all that, you're able to work more hours on your marketing, or you're able to spend more. Like everything is still relative in terms of it still takes time. Like yes, $500 a month is better than $200 a month, or $2,000 a month is better than $500 a month. But even with all, it's still contextual,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're spending, if you spend $2,000 a month in ads, you'll be able to get more data and information versus if you're spending 500. But even with that, right? Like if your goal is to hit whatever 25 customers a week, a month, and you have 2,000 and you're spending 2,000 a month, and you're like, well, we're spending 2,000 a month. It's like, yeah, but like things simply still just take time. Like you're able to get more, move faster, but it simply just takes time to get results.
Yeah.
Like that's the most like basic, boring, like it's the most like
It's-
things
it's-
that
it's
nobody
just-
wants to hear. Like, bro, it just takes time. Like
It's literally everything. You want to get fit, go to the gym 30 minutes a day, you'll be fit in 2 years.
yeah,
Because it's so slow.
it's
Everything worth doing is like,
it's the thing you don't want to hear. It's
Yeah.
slow. You have to be consistent. Show up every day. You're gonna have good days and bad days. Like
Yeah.
like it just there's no workaround around it. Like even if you are spending, well, if you're spending 10,000 a month in ads, you'll be able to move pretty fast. But even then, though, like
that
Re-
is why
re-
there's investment companies, like they raise money,
Right,
capital,
right,
because
right.
it does speed
yeah,
up. the growth.
they're again like
it is real.
spending 1,000 versus $100. Like there's a difference there,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Like
for
yes, but what I'm saying, like if like let's
or
say
they hire the person, right? The money is not so much to spend it; is to hire
it's
the
a person.
right
Yeah,
guy,
exactly.
because they
Yeah.
know what they're doing.
So and like even with all that
Sorry,
though, it's like let's say this will not make sense, but like let's say of 100% of the time, 30% of it it's still just learning and optimizing, right?
Okay.
And then the other 30% is like getting the wheels greased and actually moving. And then the last 30% is like we're actually moving, right? So whether you're spending $500 a month, you still go through that 30.
Yeah.
If you're spending $10,000, you're still going through that 30. Like it's all still contextual, the same, but just at different levels depending on how much time, money, whatever you have
And then
to give to it.
yes, 100% agree. Just made me laugh because it reminds me of this other client we've had that is a emergency restoration company. Your house floods, they're there. Your house is on fire, they're there to help you restore it. So like their complaint was like, dude, we're not getting enough. There's not enough of this, and it's like, well, dude, there's just not that many houses catching on fire. Like it's like that was my take on it. It's like, okay, well, how many freaking 10 houses catch on fire and need restoration a day? Like that's a lot to ask for. Or like with lawyers, I have a lot of lawyers. 18 truck wheeler accidents. Like this, they want that because they can make a lot of money for their clients and themselves. And it's like, okay, we're in Houston. Let's say there's 100 really bad, like terrible 18-wheeler truck accidents that are good cases, because then there's accidents and they still have to need to be a good case. You know how many lawyers there are that do personal injury? Probably like 1,000. That exact. And you know how many people that guy calls?
Right. I started shopping around.
So he or she is like, okay, which one do I use? Do I like? And that goes back to your point. It's a whole thing. Like when they go into the meeting, how's the building? How do they treat them? Do they speak Spanish? Do they speak English? Are they fluent? Are they nice? Are they dressed well? Do they have a track record of helping other people in similar accidents and gotten them a bunch of money? And so, it's like, it's also like the market. Like, I think if I'm in the detailing space, like when it gets cold, it kind of goes down. Supposedly.
Yeah.
That's what they say. So some of it's seasonal. Some of it's like, you can have 100 grand, but like if nobody is in that area that needs your service, like,
or it's not the right timing, right? Yeah. So like for instance, like let's take like anywhere that gets super cold, like Canada. Let's go all the way up north, like, and you want to run like this heavy campaign with like ad. It's like I've never been to Canada, but it's like, bro, when it's 30 degrees outside, like things just go down.
Worse than that,
or even when I worked at Discount Tire, actually, when I worked at Discount Tire, and I forgot what time of the year it was or what season it was, but I was like, the store owner or store manager store owner was Jason, and I remember I was like, hey, Jason, it's kind of slow, huh? Like we don't have that many like as many cars coming in, and he was just like, oh, just wait, give it about 30 more days, like next month, just wait, oh, it's coming. And sure enough, like, because he's been working at Discount Tire for like, I don't know, 15 years, whatever. Like everyone does that if you're a store owner or store manager. And sure enough, like on the dot, and like next month, it was like, just like, and it's like, is there like, I couldn't really pinpoint like why are people not getting the tires changed right now versus in 30 days?
There's the same amount of cars.
Like it wasn't like it was like summer to winter. It was just like, I don't know, maybe like April or something. But it's like nothing really like crazy happened.
But that shows you like he knew his business.
Yeah,
he was aware. He wasn't freaking out, was he?
Yeah.
Was he like, oh my god, we're not gonna make payroll?
Yeah. And on like with that, like it also helps to have all the historical data of like, oh, last year, and then he's been at other stores and he can like kind of like cross reference like, during this time, but he was like, oh, just wait like a month.
Yeah.
And sure enough, at the month mark, it was like, and it's like, what is the difference of that span of like people getting the tires changed right now, and in a month, a lot more people getting the tires changed right now.
Discount Tires out there throwing freaking nails all over the road, bro.
They can't finish, start throwing spikes out there. But it's true though, of like of anything of like, yeah, man, we want to go hard. Like let's do, like, assuming your market, whatever. It's like, yeah, let's go hard, man. Like we want to spend $1,500 a month, and it's like, and it's like, well, you're spending this much, but like, there's no search traffic in your area, or like you're in a town of like 20,000 people, right? And it's like, although you can still get booked out, get leads, it's like, but per what you have in mind versus like what you're actually able to get out of what that specific marketing channel and campaign that you're running, it's not going to be much. Like you could still get the results, but like, man, we want to get booked out with like, we want to get like 30, ceramic coating clients per month. And it's like, you're in a small town of 10,000 people and you're trying to run Google ads to a thing that gets like 20 searches per month for ceramic coating, right? Like, not that you can't get booked at with ceramic coating, but like the exact method you're looking at and the exact thing that you're doing is not going to be like the thing that gets you to the end goal. It still helps to get you that end goal. but it's not the main thing. So it's like, yeah, like a big part of it. And that's why, like, it's always like a fine line that you balance between, like, yeah, patience, like, but then it's like, wait, is this the right campaign though? Like, is this the right timing?
Yeah.
Is it the right, like, there's so many things that like,
It is weird
And-
because
and-
you can't lay down and just wait, but also you can't just be like Hawkeyeing and be like work. It's like a balance. Like you gotta
Yeah.
know when to push and when to be like, okay, well, like
yeah,
Gotta let it
it
be.
is a scary thought too, because, like, you know, maybe the previous month you hit like a record setting month, or like a pretty high month, and then the very next month you're like, hey, we're down like 25%. Like, what's happening? And then you like you get super scared because, like, hey, what's happening? Like, is it the ads? Is it the website? Is it the whatever? It's like, it could just be seasonal, you know.
Yeah.
It could, and it's like a part of the patience is like, you just got to get through that month, you know. And again, like, if you have historic data on like how those months flow, how the revenue is, whatever, like things like, you know, you can kind of compare and contrast, which is actually very, like, that thing helps out a lot. Like,
Yeah,
to
it
see
does.
how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
last year, yeah. And if you don't have that, again, it's like going back to the patience thing. Like, if you don't have historical data, if you can't like talk to other detailers or any business owner in your field to see how they're doing, it's like you're just walking in the dark. And at the same point too, like, if you talk to another detailer and they're like, yeah, our business usually slows down in the winter times, and it's like, but are they doing all the right things though? Like, does their business have to slow down into the winter times, or is it that that specific detailer that you talk to doesn't really, you know, are doing all these mistakes that we're talking about here? Anything else you want to add? You're good.
it's pretty good.
Okay, so point last one, which we'll wrap it up here, will be pretty quick, is that not taking the time to learn marketing. Like, this is something that I try to pound day in, day out to everyone, of like, you cannot be in business unless you have caveats, unless you have a partner that's going into business with you, and two, that they actually adamantly, unequivocally know what they're doing with marketing, sales, business development. Unless you have that, you have no excuse or no reason or no other outlet to not know everything about marketing and business development and sales. Like, that is you as the owner. You take ownership of that. You have to learn everything about it. That means of everything that you do on a daily basis. On top of that,
Right.
you have to find the time to learn, and not only learn, I mean, yes, learn, but also implement, right? Like, unless, again, you have the resources to go and pay someone, agency, freelancer, and then you're able to have that, the knowledge of yourself to know what's what, or to hire like an actual marketing person that knows what they're doing. But aside from that, there is no way I see it that an owner or someone high up there, if there's a partner and stuff, that you don't know marketing, sales, and business development. What's your take on that?
I mean, it's just hard to not. It's hard to not have to go through that obstacle, if you want to call it obstacle, because, like, you know, you can't do. I'm trying to do an analogy here. You can't make an enchilada if you don't know the ingredients, and you can't tell someone to make an enchilada if you don't, like, how are they going to do it if you don't know? So that's a disconnect. I mean, you can partner with you can have a partner, or you can partner with someone, right? Like, you work with an agency that you guys trust, and it's a good relationship, but you still have to find it. You know, it's not like you can just hire anybody.
And that's still a scary thought, because, like, if going back to all other, if you don't know, you don't know. Like,
And then all the power is out of your hand, right? What? Then the agency can hold, or the marketing person, whatever that thing is, they could be like, okay, well, we don't want to work with you anymore.
yeah.
And then what happens are
And that's the thing I always go to, of like, okay, let's say you hire it out to an agency, a freelancer, and it's like, so if go ahead, you want to.
Yeah.
If you don't get the results that you're getting, it's like, okay, so then what? You go find someone else. You pay a higher price point.
Do you know how many companies I could shut down? Not like fully, but like I could like ruin some, like, I have the only control of like 20 email accounts for like this chain of restaurants.
Oh, you're saying, like, yeah.
Like, they were like, "Hey, can you help us set this up?" We have no idea how it works. Like, I could just reroute all the information to someone else if I wanted to.
yeah. So you're saying your point. You're saying,
I have too much power.
yeah, like, they don't know what they've given up, and like they don't know
Yeah.
they don't know the amount of authority they've given to you.
Yes.
That, like, if you had, like, not that
If
you
I
would-
was evil,
that's what I'm saying. Like, because
could
there
easily be
are
evil.
agencies, freelancers, people that they hire that, like,
I could change the website. I have all the Google My Business pages. If I wanted to, I could just reroute them to. So I'll be like, "Hey, other restaurant, competitor restaurant, you know, give me $100 per thing per month.
yeah.
Easy gravy." I wouldn't do that, but I'm saying, like,
No, but that's a very fair point.
without
yeah.
knowing that, like, you're gonna get a surprise one day if something goes wrong. Like, usually, you know, I think people are good, but say they come at me and they're like, I don't know, something bad happens, and you could get, like, in a point where, like, okay, well, fine, I'm just gonna shut down. You see this a lot, like, when people leave other agencies, they're this too, like they're basically leasing the website. So once they terminate the agreement, they take away the website. So then it's like, okay, well, all that was our SEO, that was our ads, that was our website.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
And again, so like this is going a little bit outside of like just marketing, but it's like it's the main premise of like what you don't know, you give up, and then once that thing is taken away from you, like what do you do? Like you didn't know anything about the website or setting up the domains or whatever. So like once that person leaves,
and who wants to solve that again?
Yeah, it's like, and then you're just back on that Ferris with like, okay, let me go find someone now. Let me go, and it's like all the power is out of your hands. The only power you have is let me go pay someone else to do it, unless you finally say, I'm gonna learn how to do this myself. And like, especially now, like let's say anything website related, Squarespace, the easiest thing you can use, right? Like it's so easy. It just takes the time to actually learn and do everything. But like, not just with marketing, but like, marketing, setting up domain, emails, like very basic things like, and I know to a lot of people, technicians, like that's not what they want to do. They don't want to sit down and say, okay, let me read this article. Let me watch this YouTube video. Let me listen to this audiobook. Let me listen to this podcast. Like some people just strictly like, they hate that. Like it is boring. Like they want to be out there sweating and working with their hands. And it's like, unless you have a partner or someone that you can like actually they take full control of that, it's like that's not a winning formula. It's just not a winning formula. You cannot like deviate me from that thought of like if you don't know marketing or many other things, like if you don't take that ownership, it's a hard game you're playing to succeed if you don't have those proper skills.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think right now, like the business owners I know, like it tends to be the ones that know more and have a better grasp of things in general.
Yeah.
Do better than the ones that are like kind of just letting things.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Like and I like the side note. Like I just like that. Like if the person puts in the effort and learns stuff and does things, like hey, it turns out you do a better job at stuff. Your company does better. If you're like loosey goosey, don't really do things fully, not organized, don't pay attention, don't ask the right questions, you don't do as good.
Yeah, and
it like matches up.
Yeah, and I do like that, and that's why I think like, and that's why I have such a, I don't want to call it passion, but like I'm very, is passion the right word? I'm very adamant, or like I'm very strong on that idea of like you should learn marketing, because if you do learn, and not just marketing, but like let's say marketing, business, sales, and all that, like that changes not just your business, and you get more leads, you get more income, you get more revenue, you can hire somebody, get paid yourself more, but like that changes your life. Yeah. If you know these skills, like,
and you earn them. Like,
yeah. And it's like, and you can just keep on compounding them. Like, oh, I need more customers. Okay. We got to 7,000. I did this. Okay. So now let's get to 20,000. Let me go. Like,
yeah.
You when you have those skills, you are in control of your life. You're in control of your business, and you're in control of your life. And like, you can have a better life just because you have these skills. Like they're very powerful skills to learn how to generate leads, make money, and like having the skill to have a complete stranger hand over their money and give it to you for a service. It's like,
yeah,
it's
and be happy about it.
Yeah, it's like that's
an even bigger thing.
It's like you have all the power in your hands at that point. Okay, any other points?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, sounds good. We're going to end it right here. Again, if you want to download that ultimate guide to start your detailing business, you can click the link down below in the show notes or in the description box. Thank you very much, Cesar. Thank you again for hopping onto this episode. And we'll link up your Symphony advertising handle. You also have a podcast too, actually. Local service podcast. You want to talk about?
It's the Local Service Podcast.
The Local Service Podcast.
The Local Service Podcast. Pretty much same thing, just a little bit more broader.
Yeah, because you talk more about general businesses, not just these. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. We'll link all that down below. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye. And remember, SEO for Detailers is opening on November 18th. If you want to be one of the first to get notified, click the link down below or check the show notes to get on the waiting list.